So he does this. He goes like this. Okay. Then he comes here, and then it's the way we all know the kata, right here. Okay. The other difference is like I said, on these moves, he comes here, he comes up, and he does this, which is interesting because then 10 years later, 12 years later in the 66 film, he doesn't do that in Tokumini. He does side, up, down, whatever, but he doesn't do the figure eights, right? So then the other thing is instead of doing the press down, right, he just kind of comes back and does this, right? But I know from training with Walter Van Gilson that the press down, right? It's press down and then flip, right? No, third bow is you knock it up. Third bow is, that's the mistake everybody makes. Everybody's doing Tokumini no Kun the same as third bow. So everybody's doing Tokumini no Kun like this, and then they're flipping over. But if you think about, no. So think about what the next move is after that. So in Tokumini, the guy's coming in to attack me with the bow. I intercept it here. I push it down. I do an Osai technique. As I push it down, I flip over and catch him with this. In Shishi no Kun, we step back and knock the bow up, and the next move is that. So that makes sense, okay? It doesn't make sense to knock the bow up and then flip over because he's going to be able to still bring the bow into play. Okay? So then from here, when he does the swing, right? When he does this, right? He comes around with the one hand and swings it and pokes at the end, right? So that's in the 58 film, okay? So, you know, what we're getting a glimpse of in the 58 film is we're getting a glimpse of the way Keon actually taught him the form. So that's the Keon form. And then the Sai kata, the Keon no Sai kata that a lot of the first generation guys learned, that's just him taking the Keon techniques and putting them together in a pattern. Okay. So that's why that kata is so basic. Because Keon didn't teach a Sai kata, he only taught Sai techniques. Okay. So same with nunchaku. Keon also taught nunchaku techniques, but he didn't teach a nunchaku kata. The only kata he taught was this. Okay. So in the McCarthy, in episode 3, which will drop either later today or tomorrow morning for the members, we get into this. We get into Tokumini. He talks about how Keon learned it, and I talk about the timeline and how the Tokumini no Kun that we see Tatsuo doing in 58 is the original Tokumini no Kun that Keon taught. So, because again, Tatsuo was off the island from 41 to 45. So he had to have learned it before he went to Kyushu. So if he learned it in the late 1930s or 1940, right, he comes back, Keon's already died. Keon died in 45. So, okay, where'd Tatsuo learn the kata from? You got to realize something. The only person that taught this kata was Keon. So anybody doing Tokumini no Kun, it has to be traced to Keon or someone that learned it from Keon. So like the Eizo Shimabuku people, Tatsuo's brothers people, their Shorin-ryu branch, they do Tokumini no Kun. Why? Because Eizo learned it from Tatsuo, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing. The Zempo Shimabuku, right? Who, they claim they're doing the true Keon karate, right? They didn't learn it to the 50s or 60s from Joe and Nakazato. Joe and Nakazato says he learned it from Keon, but you look at the Nakazato version, which we also practice, it doesn't look anything like what Tatsuo does. Yeah, that's weird. And in the book, in McCarthy Sensei's book, Zempo Shimabuku states that he thinks Nakazato's bayonet training, that he was teaching bayonet in the military, he thinks that affected his Tokumini no Kun. And if you look at the way he does the form, it kind of looks like that a little bit. Tatsuo's form is much more fluid. It's much more natural. That the way most of them are doing that, their version of Tokumini, right? And then the version of Tokumini that Yamashiro does from Matayoshi, that's totally Like, that's Yamashiro. Like, supposedly Matayoshi Sensei did learn the form from Shimabukuro, right? But again, they changed it. They're adding extra twirls. They're adding all kinds of extra stuff. So I mean, I have Yamashiro doing it, but it doesn't look like the original one that Tatsuo was doing. So like I say on the Tokumini video is okay. You got to give Tatsuo credit for certain things. He learned the original kata from Keon. There's no other place he learned it, right? So it was only taught Keon. Keon was the only one that knew Tokumini. Tokumini, there's no Taira Tokumini. Taira never learned the kata. So again, it's Keon or bust. So the one that Tatsuo was doing is the one that Keon taught him. There's no doubt in my mind. Like you'll hear me say in the McCarthy interview that I say, I am a retired detective, and I give him the timeline, and McCarthy agrees with me 100%. Right? And he says the same thing with Keon no Sai. That Keon no Sai, a lot of people were doing that. There's a Keon no Sai in Matsubashi Rushorin-Ryu. Doesn't look anything like our Keon no Sai because it comes from a different Keon. It's a different instructor they learned it from, right? So I'm just saying. And that's why he preserved those Keon techniques, those Sai techniques, on the end of Kusanku. And I mentioned to McCarthy too that the original name for Isshin-Ryu was Chanmigwate.
Chanmi, right, which is Keon's other name, right?
Okay, so again, you're telling me the guy's naming his style Chanmigwate, but he's not doing the real Keon karate. Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, again, everybody wants to put bullshit out there, right? Because they want to make them seem like they're the ones, right? But the reality is, right? I mean, we're doing true Keon karate, And then the other thing is, Chanmigwate means small-eyed Keon. Chanmigwate means small-eyed Keon's hand. Te. Chanmigwate. Yeah, it's in the McCarthy book. You can see where he's called Chanmigwa, right? That's his nickname because it looks like he has small eyes, right?
Okay.
So, but again, that was the original name of what Tatsuo called his karate. He called it Chanmigwate. Small-eyed Keon's karate, right? I mean, so.
Right.
So to me, like, okay, like, duh. Like, again, we all want to, come up with these fantastical ideas and histories of stuff, right? But to me, it always, let's look at it from common sense. If Tatsuo's calling the style originally Chanmigwate, why is he calling that? He pulled that out of the air when Chanmigwa, and in the book, the one guy says that, and McCarthy agrees with this too. Keon taught karate at the agricultural school, and he taught karate at the police station. At those two locations, he taught the basic karate. At his house is where he taught the real stuff. So he didn't teach any weapons at the police station or the agricultural place. He only taught weapons at his house. Joe Nakazato's on record as saying when he was asked, did you see Tatsuo when you were training with Keon Sensei? He says, yeah, I saw him, but he was very senior. I didn't interact with him. I was off on the side practicing myself. He was with Keon Sensei. Right?
Yeah.
So, So yeah.
So Taira Shinken taught him what then? He taught him.
So Taira Shinken taught him Urashi, and again, we don't know why. Like, Taira knew a lot of Bo-kata. So why was it Urashi and Shishi? Did he demonstrate Bo-kata and then Tatsuo said, oh, I like this one, I like that one? We don't know. He taught him Hamahiga, right? No Tuifa, which that's the only Tuifa kata that the Ryukyu people do. That's the kata that Taira knew, right? And then he taught him Chatnyara no Sai, which again, Chatnyara and Hamahiga are probably two of the oldest. Chatnyara is probably one of the oldest Sai kata. Hamahiga is definitely the oldest Tuifa kata, right? And then those two Bo-kata, Urashi and Shishi, right? And again, when you look at those two kata, they're very different, right? I mean, Urashi were fighting with this grip a lot, right? And Shishi, we know, is the Bo-kata from hell. It's just so long. It's complex. It's very athletic, right? So, and the thing is, that's why Tatsuo, just changed the beginning of Tokumini no Kun. So all three Bo-kata start the same way, where they're like this, and they all, and Tatsuo goes 1, 2, and then he goes 3, right? And then all the Bo-kata start from here. So that's the way everybody in Isshin-Ryu does it, but the Keon way was like this, and then here. So again, it's just an interesting little tidbit. It's a little piece of a bigger puzzle, But I think it's good to kind of know. That's why those 58 films are a godsend. Because again, you can look at them and go, okay, right? And the other thing I bring up with McCarthy, which is coming up in this one that I'm going to drop today or tomorrow, is where Tatsuo learned Naihanchi. Because they're saying Keon didn't teach Naihanchi. Okay, well then where Tatsuo learned it from? Well, we go to the left, right? Motobu also goes to the left. They go both ways. So Motobu will do the kata going to the right. They will also do the Naihanchi going to the left. Okay, so where did he learn the kata from? I don't know. I'm thinking he had to have learned it from Motobu. And the other clue on that is I have him on some of the video. I have him on one of the videos. So we do this. We go here, right, and we do this. But I have him on video doing this, where he punches, and that's how the Motobu people do it. So Tatsuo added an open hand. Then the Motobu people, as they step over, they go this, and then they do this. Tatsuo kept the open hand, right? Which I tell people is a little more Chinese, right? So he's saying, I don't want to lose that Chinese, right, influence or whatever. So that's just, but I do have him on video doing that punch like this. So again, he probably learned it like that and changed it to the open hand. For whatever reason, he liked the open hand better. He probably learned it like this, right? And it probably changed it for whatever reason. He liked that. I mean, again, we're never going to know, right? Because we can't ask him. But you say to yourself, well, if the Motobu is the only other ones that go to the left, and we go to the left, again, common sense, right?